He stayed with her for the money, but fate had a truth waiting that would cost him far more. My name is Attorney Ivy Marlowe, and before we begin, make sure you're subscribed to Voices of Courtroom, because what you're about to hear is not just a story about greed. It's about a man who thought money was his safety net, right up until the moment it became the rope tightening around his own neck. It started on a Thursday afternoon. My office was quiet, the city outside humming its usual winter rhythm, cars, distant sirens, the low rush of people trying to get home before the cold sank in for the night. I was reviewing deposition notes when my assistant gently knocked and opened the door. "There's a woman here to see you," she said. "She doesn't have an appointment, but you should probably hear her out." I've learned to pay attention when my assistant says that. "Send her in," I replied. A moment later, the woman stepped into my office. Early 30s, beautiful in a way that looked unplanned, dark hair pulled into a loose knot, no heavy makeup, just pale skin and eyes that were a little too tired for her age. Her clothes were understated but expensive. A wool coat, a soft cream sweater, tailored pants. She carried herself like someone used to holding things together for everyone else. "Miss Marlowe?" she asked. I nodded. "That's me." "And you are Claire Weston," she said, then hesitated. I'm not sure if I need a divorce lawyer yet. People rarely are." "Have a seat, Claire," I said, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. "Start wherever it makes the most sense to you. Don't worry about legal terms, just tell me why you're here." She sat down slowly, like even the act of sitting was weighted. She didn't cry, she didn't fidget. She just stared at her own hands for a moment, as if they might start telling the story for her. "I've been married for 6 years," she said finally. "To a man named Jason Weston." Her voice softened when she said his name, not with affection, but with something much more complicated. "He's kind," she continued. "Charming, the kind of man who remembers anniversaries and brings coffee in the morning. My friends tell me I'm lucky." "But," I prompted gently. She looked up at me then, and there it was, the fracture line behind her eyes. "But I think he stayed with me only for financial security," she said quietly. "And until a week ago I was just suspicious. Now I have proof." I leaned forward slightly. "What changed a week ago?" She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, then another, then another. Loan documents, account statements, insurance policies. She smoothed them out on my desk and I glanced over them quickly, skimming the numbers. Her name appeared on every page, his did not. "I own a small but successful design company," she said. "I inherited the initial capital from my grandmother. Jason knew that when he married me, but I never thought twice about it. He said it didn't matter to him." "Did you have a prenup?" I asked. She nodded. "Yes," at his suggestion actually. He wanted me to feel safe about my assets. At the time I thought it was sweet, mature. He said he loved me and didn't want me to ever think he was with me for the money. I almost smiled. I've heard that line before. "And now," I said, "now I know he stayed with me for exactly that reason," she whispered. "Because as long as we were married, he had access." "To what?" She swallowed. "To my stability." She tapped one of the documents. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from a bank I'd never dealt with, reminding me of a payment deadline. I thought it was a scam. It wasn't. There was a loan in my name, a substantial one. The address was ours. The email was mine. The signature mine. But it wasn't. She shook her head, jaw tightening. "No, I never signed anything. I never even stepped foot in that branch. Someone forged my signature, generated documents with my old scanned ID, and took out a loan I didn't know existed." I studied her expression. "Do you suspect Jason?" "At first I didn't want to," she said. "I told myself there had to be another explanation, identity theft, a clerical mistake, anything but him." "Then what changed?" She inhaled, steadying herself. "I found his secret email account," she said, "and the messages inside it. There it was, the pivot point, the moment doubt shifts to certainty." "How did you find it?" I asked. She gave a faint, humorless smile. I wasn't snooping. "Our internet went down. I logged into the router settings to reset it. There was a list of saved logins. One of them wasn't mine. Jason had used the same password pattern he always does, just rearranged." She shrugged. "I guessed it. And what did you see?" She looked directly at me, eyes colder now. "Emails between him and a financial advisor," she said. They'd been working together for almost 4 years, setting up contingency plans and strategic transfers in the event of a separation. He was planning to leave you, eventually, she said, but not until he finished building his own safety net. Not until he'd used mine. I could hear the hurt in every word, even when she tried to keep her tone controlled. Do you remember any specific email? I asked. Anything that stood out? She nodded slowly. There was one line, she whispered. I can't get it out of my head. She closed her eyes as if replaying it. He wrote, I'll stay married until I'm stable enough to walk away without losing my lifestyle. There's no point leaving before the numbers make sense. She opened her eyes again. They were shimmering now, but no tears fell. I always wondered why, whenever we hit rough patches, he suddenly became perfect, she said, more affectionate. More attentive. I thought maybe he still cared. Now I know he was just buying time, protecting his position, waiting for the numbers to make sense. I let that sit in the room between us for a moment. Claire, I said quietly, are you in physical danger? No, she said quickly. He's not violent. He's never raised his hand to me. He's just calculated. Do you still live together? Yes, she said. I haven't confronted him yet. I needed to know my options first. I needed to know if I'm crazy or if this is as bad as I think. It's bad, I said. You're not crazy. She exhaled shakily, like someone whose body finally allowed them to breathe after holding it for too long. I thought marriage meant partnership, she whispered. I didn't realize for him it meant a financial strategy. I glanced back down at the documents. These loans, you said they're in your name? Yes. Do you know what the funds were used for? Some of it went into joint expenses, at least on paper, she said. But there are transfers to an account I don't recognize, an account under his name alone, and there's something else. She pulled out one more document from her bag, a life insurance policy. This arrived in the mail 2 days ago, she said. I didn't apply for it. It's on me. A significant payout. And guess who's listed as the sole beneficiary? Your husband, I said. She nodded. I felt a small but distinct chill slide through my spine. Financial manipulation was one thing. Quiet extraction of resources, forging signatures, strategic planning, all ugly, all cruel. But life insurance, recently initiated, changed the flavor of the situation. Did you ask him about it? I asked. No, she said. He has no idea. I know. The envelope arrived while he was at work. I opened it in the kitchen. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. Has anything else happened recently that worries you? She hesitated. There was one thing, she said. It's probably nothing. Tell me anyway. A week before the policy arrived, we were in the car, she said. It was raining, dark, and he was driving too fast. I asked him to slow down. Jokingly, I said, "You're going to kill us both if you keep this up." She swallowed. He laughed, she continued, and said, "Relax. You're worth more to me alive." My eyes narrowed slightly. Did he say it casually? I asked. Yes, she said, but his tone, it felt wrong, like there was a double meaning I didn't understand yet. Now she did. Claire, I said carefully, why did you come to me instead of going straight to the police or a general divorce attorney? She looked at me for a long moment. Because this doesn't feel like just a broken marriage, she whispered. It feels like a setup. And I think I'm afraid that if I make the wrong move, the woman who's worth more to him alive might suddenly become worth more to him some other way. That chill in my spine turned into something sharper. I specialize in cases where emotions and money collide in dangerous ways, I said. People who stay married for power, image, access. People who think love is a transaction, not a commitment. And I can tell you right now, your instincts are screaming for a reason. She nodded, a tear finally slipping down her cheek. I don't want to be dramatic, she whispered. Maybe he'd never hurt me. Maybe he just wants to leave with a cushion. Maybe I'm overreacting. Claire, I said, do you want to stay married to him? She didn't hesitate. No, she said, not anymore. I can't unhear what I read. I can't look at him and pretend I don't know he's counting down to the day the math makes sense to leave me. Then this is no longer about being dramatic, I said. This is about protecting yourself legally, financially, and possibly physically. She straightened a little, some steel finding its way back into her spine. What do I do? She asked. We start quietly, I said. We secure your accounts, freeze anything he can access in your name. We get a forensic accountant to track where the loan money went. We document every forged signature and every policy you didn't consent to. And we do it before he knows you've spoken to me. She nodded, absorbing every word. And then, she asked. And then, I said, we build a case? What kind of case? A case that proves he didn't just use you, I said softly. A case that proves he weaponized your trust for personal gain in a courtroom that matters. She exhaled slowly. I thought he married me for love, she whispered. Turns out I was his retirement plan. I watched her carefully. Claire, I need you to understand something, I said. Men like Jason, they think they're clever. They think their intentions are invisible because they never say them out loud. They hide behind jokes, behind financial planning. But when you pull the right records, when you line up the right dates, when you play their own words out loud in front of a judge, intentions become very visible. She held my gaze. You really think a judge will care that he stayed with me just for money? She asked. No, I said. I think a judge will care that he committed fraud to protect that arrangement, that he created obligations in your name, that he may have taken out a life insurance policy without your knowledge. And if his behavior escalates, I let that implication finish itself in the air between us. Fate has a way, I added quietly, of giving people like Jason exactly what they think they're immune to. What's that? She asked. Consequences. She nodded slowly, almost to herself. What if he finds out I've come to you? She asked. Then you call me, I said. Immediately, and if anything feels off, if his behavior changes, if he pressures you about money or policies or accidents, we bring in more than just lawyers. I slid a legal pad toward her. For now, I said, write down every strange financial thing that's happened in your marriage. Dates, transactions, phrases he's used. Don't censor it because you think it's small. In court, small things are often the threads that unravel the whole story. She picked up the pen with trembling fingers. And what will you do? She asked. I glanced down at the stack of documents on my desk, loans, policies, quiet little crimes disguised as paperwork. I'll start reading him, I said. Not the version he shows you. The version he leaves behind in numbers. Because men like Jason, who stay for financial security, always think money is their shield. They forget that paper trails tell the truth they never intended to say out loud. And as I would soon learn, the very system he used to protect himself would become the stage where fate finally turned on him. By the time we were done, Jason Weston wouldn't just lose his financial security. He'd learn what it feels like when the only thing you truly value is the very thing the court takes away. I didn't expect to hear from Claire again that same night, but some clients carry storms inside them, storms that refuse to wait until morning. 3 hours after she left my office, my phone buzzed. Claire Weston. Her voice was low, shaky, controlled only by the thin thread of someone trying desperately not to break in front of another person. He's home, she whispered. And Ivy, something feels off. Are you safe? I asked immediately. Yes. I think so. He's in the kitchen making dinner like nothing happened. She paused. But he's being different. Different how? He's too calm, too polite, too attentive. He poured me wine. He hasn't done that in months. That wasn't kindness. That was management. Claire, I said, already grabbing my coat. I'm on my way. Keep your phone with you. Don't confront him. And whatever you do, don't drink anything he prepares. I won't, she whispered. I already poured it down the sink. He didn't see. Good, because men who plan financial escapes often escalate when their timeline is threatened. And the moment Claire found that insurance policy, the timeline was no longer his, it was ours. When I pulled into her driveway, the house was quiet, too quiet for a couple supposedly celebrating a normal evening. Claire opened the door before I even knocked, her face pale under the soft hall light. He's downstairs, she whispered. He thinks I'm changing for dinner. I stepped inside and lowered my voice. I won't speak to him yet. I need to observe him, to see how he behaves. People who manipulate for money behave differently when they sense pressure. She nodded, clutching her sweater tightly. I already feel like I don't know who I married. You're not alone, I told her, and after tonight we'll know more. We moved quietly down the hallway toward the kitchen. I positioned myself by the archway. From that angle I could see him clearly, but he couldn't see me. Jason Weston, tall, well-groomed, folded sleeves, a charming smile rehearsed enough to look natural. He was sautéing vegetables, humming a song under his breath. A man cooking for his wife, on the surface, innocent. Underneath, a performance with an agenda. I watched his face as he plated the food. He paused twice, not from distraction, but from calculation. The kind of pause someone makes when their mind runs numbers, not emotions. Claire moved into the kitchen, her acting flawless, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. "Smells good," she said gently. He smiled. "I thought we deserved something nice. You've been stressed lately." Her voice was steady. "Just work." "Work?" He raised a brow. "Funny, I saw you got a call from a law office earlier." My spine stiffened. He had been paying attention. Claire walked carefully around his suspicion. "It was about renewing my business license." "Ah," he said lightly. "Of course, nothing serious, I hope." His tone wasn't casual, it was probing, measuring. Claire shifted. "Just paperwork." "Good," he said, placing the plates on the counter. "I wouldn't want anything to disrupt our stability." The way he emphasized that last word sent a chill through both of us. He wasn't talking about marriage. He was talking about the financial system he'd built behind her back. He turned toward the wine bottle. "Want another glass?" "No," she said quickly. "I'm not in the mood tonight." He studied her. A second too long, a second too aware. "Of course," he replied, stepping closer. "You've seemed distant. Everything okay?" Her throat tightened. "Just tired." He touched her arm lightly, a gentle gesture if you didn't know the context, but I saw the truth in that touch. He wasn't comforting her, he was checking her pulse, her mood, her vulnerability, her predictability. Manipulators don't hug, they gauge. After a few minutes, I stepped into the kitchen. Claire exhaled with visible relief. Jason turned, the smile never leaving his face. "Ah, we have company." I extended my hand. "Ivy Marlowe, Claire's attorney." His smile faltered for the briefest second, and that single crack told me everything. Claire hadn't told him she was coming to see me. He wasn't expecting a lawyer in his kitchen, and now he was recalculating faster than a broken hard drive. "You're an attorney?" he asked. His voice remained calm, but his fingers tightened around the countertop. "Yes," I said smoothly. "Claire and I had some business to discuss." "Business?" he echoed. "Financial," I said, watching his eyes. His jaw twitched. There it was, the flash of panic he didn't want anyone to see, but he recovered quickly, stepping into his charming persona. "Well, that's wonderful, but dinner is getting cold and I'd hate for this conversation to spoil the evening." "It won't," I said. "In fact, we won't stay long. I just need Claire to sign something for her company, then I'll be gone." He nodded, but his eyes were sharp, curious, suspicious, threatened. We stepped into the living room. Claire sat beside me while I pretended to review documents. "Ivy," she whispered, voice tight, "thank you for coming. I felt like something awful was going to happen." "You trusted your instincts," I whispered back. "Good." Jason leaned against the doorway, watching us, analyzing. "What exactly is she signing?" he asked casually. I lifted my eyes. "A renewal, normally small, but sometimes missing paperwork can cause delays." He nodded slowly. But his right foot tapped the floor, barely noticeable except to someone trained to watch body language. Conflicted, uneasy, trying to hide impatience. "Claire," I said loudly enough for him to hear, "we'll finish this tomorrow morning at my office." She nodded. Jason swallowed. "Everything okay?" "Yes," I said, "perfectly." Then I added something intentionally casual. "I hope your auto insurance is up to date. Roads are icy tonight." He blinked, surprised. He hadn't mentioned his car once. A perfect reaction, because a man planning exits always thinks about cars and the accidents that could happen near them. We left soon after. The moment we stepped outside, Claire grabbed my arm. "Ivy, he knows something's wrong." I could feel it. "Yes," I said, "he does." "Is that bad?" "It means he'll slip up. The more a man like Jason panics, the more he exposes the scheme he thinks is perfect." She exhaled shakily. "What happens now?" I looked at her with calm certainty. "Now," I said, "we start uncovering the truth behind his financial shadow life." "And," she whispered, "and," I continued, "we make sure the court sees exactly who he is before he decides to make a move he can't undo." She nodded slowly. "But Ivy," she whispered, voice trembling, "what if Jason already planned something?" I met her eyes. "Then," I said, "fate will make him regret it." Because in my experience, when a man builds a marriage on money, he often forgets that justice doesn't care about his calculations. It only cares about the truth. I didn't sleep that night. Men like Jason Weston didn't scare me, but men who feel their grip slipping, men who build their lives around stability and suddenly sense instability creeping in, those men become unpredictable. And unpredictability is far more dangerous than malice. By sunrise, I had two things waiting on my desk: Claire's loan documents, a draft of the forged signature comparison report from my contact at the forensic lab. The initial findings were exactly what I predicted. The signature wasn't hers. It wasn't even a good forgery. It was confident, too confident, like someone who'd practiced imitating her handwriting for years, or someone who'd signed her name enough times on joint documents that their muscle memory learned her curves. Someone who knew her too well, but I didn't call Claire yet. First, I needed something else, something bigger, something that could shift this case from suspicion to undeniable proof. The financial advisor. The one Jason had emailed under his secret account. This advisor wasn't just complicit, he was central. Men like Jason rarely conduct shady transactions alone. They want validation. They want someone to tell them they're smart, calculated, strategic. And advisors like his, they're the ones who sell that reassurance in pretty financial language. I found his name buried in the email thread: Thomas L. Wexford Private Wealth Management. I called his office and introduced myself simply as attorney Ivy Marlowe. The tone on the other end changed immediately. Professionals who are clean don't get nervous when attorneys call. Professionals who know they bent rules get very nervous. "I'd like to meet," I told him. "This morning." He hesitated. "That's sudden," he replied. "Your client's wife has signed forensic releases," I lied smoothly. "And we're reviewing certain transactions. You'll want to be part of that conversation." Silence. Then, "All right, I can make time." Of course he could. Guilt always clears the schedule. I pulled into the financial district at 9:43 a.m., a gray sky hanging low, almost pressing the city downward. Inside the building, I found Wexford's office, sleek, modern, minimalist. He greeted me with a smile that was too polished for this early in the morning. "Attorney Marlowe," he said, offering his hand. "What can I help you with?" "Let's talk about your client," I said. "Which one? Jason Weston?" His face flickered just barely, a tiny crack in the confident veneer. We sat. His office smelled faintly of cedar and expensive coffee, the kind people buy to feel important. A wall of certificates hung behind him, decorations meant to reassure clients about credibility. I wasn't impressed. "Mr. Wexford," I began, "how long have you been advising Mr. Weston?" "About 4 years," he said. "Mostly investment strategies, long-term stability planning." "Stability for whom?" I asked sharply. His lips parted, then closed. He wasn't used to someone interrupting the well-practiced script. "I assume you're aware," I continued, "that Jason is married. Financial decisions affecting marital assets require mutual consent." He shifted in his seat, a small, almost imperceptible inch backward. "Well, yes, of course," he said. "But Jason ensured me his wife was fully aware." "Was she aware of the loan?" I asked, sliding the paperwork across the desk. He stared at it, swallowed, said nothing. Then I lowered the hammer. "Does this signature look like hers to you?" His face went pale. I'm not a handwriting expert." "I am," I lied calmly. "And so is the witness who will testify to the forgery in court." He blinked rapidly. "This is a misunderstanding," he insisted. "Jason assured me." "He assured you," I said slowly, "that his wife wouldn't notice hundreds of thousands of dollars being moved into accounts under his name." Wexford froze, and there it was. Fear. A person's fear always shows in the eyes long before their voice cracks. "Mr. Wexford," I said, leaning forward, "I know Jason used you. The only question is whether you allowed it willingly or whether he lied to you too." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Good, he wasn't a sociopath, he was weak. Weak people confess when pressure builds, and I wasn't letting the pressure drop. "You can protect Jason," I continued, "or you can protect yourself, but you can't do both." Silence stretched. Then Wexford reached for his keyboard. "There's something you should see," he whispered. He opened a folder labeled Weston Portfolio. Inside were documents, emails, memos, calculations, internal risk assessments. But one email caught my eye. It wasn't addressed to Wexford. It wasn't even part of a financial thread. It was a personal email Jason had forwarded from his private inbox. Subject: Conditions for separation sent by Jason Weston to himself. I clicked it. I wish I could say I was surprised by what I read, but I wasn't. Cold, calculated, strategic. Jason had written a list of conditions under which he would initiate divorce proceedings. Condition 1, ensure personal financial stability exceeding $500,000 liquid. Condition 2, transfer assets from joint reservoir into individual account via indirect channels. Condition 3, secure secondary property before divorce filing. Condition 4, confirm continued access to Claire's medical records and insurance policies. Condition 5, evaluate possibility of annulment of prenuptial complexities by emotional grounds. But it was the final line, the handwritten annotation at the bottom, that froze me. In blue ink, slanted writing, Jason Weston's handwriting. Stay married until leverage is maximized. No earlier. Leverage, he had written a strategy. Not for a marriage, but for an exit. Tactical, measured, heartless. But something else caught my attention, another line scribbled underneath as if added in a moment of frustration or drunken honesty. If Claire knew what I really planned, she'd destroy everything. Yes, Jason, she would, and I was going to help her. Wexford watched me, waiting for my reaction. This email, I said, will ruin him in court. He looked horrified. You can't seriously? I can, I replied calmly, and I will, unless you want to be seen as a co-conspirator. He inhaled sharply. What do you want from me? Testimony, I said, and the complete file you have on him, everything. Including deleted communications. I could lose my license? No, I said. You'll lose your license if you hide it and it comes out later. You'll save it if you cooperate. He stared at his desk. I didn't know, he whispered. I swear I just thought he was planning a financially safe divorce. I nodded slowly. That's the story you'll tell the court, and you'll tell it loudly. He swallowed again but nodded. Good, we had leverage, now I needed Claire. When I reached her house, she opened the door instantly as if she'd been sitting beside it waiting. Her eyes were swollen, her hair unbrushed. A woman holding herself together by the thinnest thread. Ivy, she asked. Did you find something? Yes, I said. We need to talk. We sat in her living room. The curtains were closed. A half-finished cup of tea sat on the coffee table. She looked at me like someone bracing for impact. Claire, I said softly, everything you feared, it's worse. Her hands tightened on her lap. Show me. I handed her a printed copy of Jason's conditions for separation. Her eyes scanned it slowly, then faster. Then suddenly they stopped, right at the word leverage. She let out a shaky breath. A small, broken sound escaped her throat, half laugh, half sob. He wrote this, she whispered. He actually wrote this. Her voice cracked on the last word. I reached out, placing a hand over hers. Claire, I said, you've been living with a man who treated your marriage like a strategy, not a home. She swallowed hard. I thought I could handle betrayal, she whispered. But this. He didn't just use me, he planned me. Planned. That was the exact word she should have chosen. She wiped her eyes, then looked up at me with something new in her face, not fear, not grief, but resolve. What happens now, Ivy? She asked. What do we do? I leaned back slightly. Now, I said, we prepare for him to make his next move. Jason, she whispered. Yes, she looked confused. His next move. Why would he make a move now? I held her gaze. Because Jason knows, I said softly, that leverage is slipping away. Her breath hitched. And men like him, I continued, don't wait quietly when they sense loss. She exhaled shakily. Do you think he suspects anything yet? Yes, I said, last night proved it. Claire nodded slowly. Ivy, she whispered, I'm scared. I know, I said gently, but listen to me carefully. You're safer now than you've ever been. Why? She whispered. Because now, I said, he's not the one in control. I leaned forward, my voice low. And I promise you, by the time we finish pulling the rest of this thread, Jason Weston will regret every financial decision he ever made. Jason Weston didn't act immediately. Men like him never do. When control starts slipping, they don't explode, not at first. They tighten their grip quietly, subtly, strategically. Enough to remind the world that they still believe they're in charge. And 3 days after revealing his conditions for separation, Jason did exactly that. But it wasn't in the way Claire or I expected. It started with something small. A message, a text from Jason to Claire. Be home early tonight. I plan something special for us. Harmless words on the surface. But Claire knew, and I knew, that Jason Weston never planned anything special on a Tuesday in the middle of a financial fallout. She called me immediately. Ivy, what do I do? Do I go home? Do I say no? Go home, I said calmly. Act normal, but don't be alone with him in any room where something can accidentally happen. You think she couldn't finish the sentence. I think Jason knows something is slipping, I said, and a man who sees his financial leverage collapsing may try to accelerate his timeline. Her breath caught. But remember this, I added, he won't try anything reckless while he believes you're still predictable. So I pretend nothing's wrong, for now. That evening, I drove past her house around sunset. I never told her I would. I didn't want her watching the door or worrying, but I needed to see Jason myself. The curtains were open. Jason stood inside wearing a navy sweater, hair neatly styled. He looked like he'd stepped out of a holiday commercial. A man perfectly composed on the outside, a man spiraling beneath the surface. I watched him adjust the table settings, 2 plates, candles, wine glasses. He glanced over his shoulder toward the window, not at me, but at the driveway, waiting for his wife to return. A man rehearsing his performance. I parked far down the street, unnoticed. Then I waited. 10 minutes later, Claire's car pulled in. She paused in the driveway, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing deeply, steadying herself, preparing for whatever special meant in Jason's vocabulary. When she finally stepped out, Jason opened the front door before she even reached the porch. Too fast, too timed, as if he'd been standing behind it, listening for her footsteps. Claire forced a smile. Jason kissed her cheek and said, "You look beautiful tonight." She hadn't changed out of her work clothes. That was the first red flag. Ivy, she had told me earlier, he never notices when I dress well. But he notices when I'm nervous. He guided her inside with a hand on her back, not affectionate, directive. I slipped away before he could glance outside again. 1 hour later, Claire called me. Her voice was shaking. "Ivy, something's wrong. Are you somewhere private?" I asked immediately. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm in the bathroom. I locked the door." "What happened?" "He said we should celebrate new beginnings, whatever that means." He poured me wine again twice. He kept insisting I drink. "Did you?" "No, I pretended to sip. I dumped it in a plant when he wasn't looking." "Good," I said. "There's something else," she whispered. "He said he wants to take a drive right now at night. He keeps talking about a lookout point we used to go to. Ivy, it's a cliff." My stomach tightened. That wasn't subtle anymore. "Listen to me very carefully," I said. "You are not getting into any car with him tonight." She exhaled shakily. "He's waiting outside the door. What do I tell him?" "Tell him you feel sick," I said. "Tell him you need a minute. Tell him anything, but do not go anywhere with him." She nodded quickly, though I couldn't see her. "Ivy, he sounds so calm, too calm." "Calm can be dangerous," I said. "Stay where you are." "I'm calling the police." "No," she whispered sharply. "Not yet. If he sees them, he'll know something's wrong." "Claire, please," she whispered. "Just buy me time. I'll get away from him just a few minutes." I hesitated. Then I trusted her instinct. "All right," I said. "I'll come myself, but Claire, keep the bathroom window unlocked. If I need to get you out fast, that's our exit." "Okay," she whispered. "Please hurry." I arrived in under 7 minutes. Her bathroom window, exactly where she said, was cracked open. The house was quiet, too quiet. I stepped to the side wall, hidden from the main windows. Before I could knock, her phone buzzed. Another call, another whisper. "Ivy, he's getting impatient." "Where is he now?" "In the hallway." "Can you climb out the window?" "No, I'm wearing boots. He'll hear the window scraping." "Okay, stay put." A beat of silence. Then, "Ivy, he asked me to bring my life insurance documents to the car. He said he wants to check something." Ice spread through my chest. That was no longer calculated financial manipulation. That was preparation. "Claire," I said quietly, "you can't stay in that house another second." Another silence. Then, "I think he's unlocking the bedroom drawer." "What's in that drawer?" I whispered. "A gun," she said. That was it. I didn't hesitate. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I called 911 on my second phone and reported a possible imminent domestic threat. Then I moved to the bathroom window. "Claire," I whispered through the crack, "I'm here." "Open the window now." She didn't respond. "Claire," I said more sharply, "open the window." Still nothing. The fear that hit me wasn't loud. It was cold, heavy, a drop in temperature that settles into the bones. He was with her. The door inside the bathroom clicked. A slow, deliberate click. Then I heard Jason's voice through the wooden barrier. "Claire, why is the door locked?" Her voice trembled in reply. I just need a minute." "Open it," he said gently. Too gently. Jason, please. Claire, he repeated. Open the door. She didn't move. I knew because the window was still cracked open. I could see only darkness, no movement. Then his voice changed, not loud, not angry, calm. Dangerous, we're going for a drive. A command, not a suggestion. Jason, open the door, Claire. I pulled the window upward quietly, fast but silent. Claire, I whispered urgently, step back from the door, slowly. Do not let him corner you. Her breath hitched. She rose. I saw her silhouette move toward the window. Jason tried the handle again, harder this time. The metal rattled. Claire, he said, open this door or I swear. Sirens. Faint at first, growing louder, he froze. His next words were sharp, clipped. You called someone? I didn't, she whispered. Jason, please, he rattled the handle again, harder. Who is outside? That was my cue. I yanked the window fully open. Claire, now! She climbed through in one frantic motion, scraping her knee on the frame. I grabbed her wrists and pulled her out as Jason slammed something heavy against the bathroom door. We stumbled into the bushes behind the house as police cars turned the corner, lights flashing, tires skidding over the pavement. Jason burst into the backyard seconds later. He froze at the sight of the officers. Then he saw us. His eyes, normally calculating, cold, rehearsed, changed. They were wild now, cornered. He ran straight into the shadows of the side yard. An officer shouted after him. Another sprinted. Footsteps thundered across the lawn. Claire collapsed in my arms, shaking violently. Ivy, he knew, I think he knew he was going to. I know, I said softly. You're safe now, you did everything right. She cried into my shoulder, the kind of cry you hear only from people who have held fear inside for too long. Police swarmed the property, officers canvassed the yard, but Jason was gone, vanished into the dark. Claire sobbed harder. What if he comes back? She whispered. What if he tries again? He won't, I said. Not tonight. How do you know? Because now, I said softly, he's running. Running from what? From the consequences he thought he was smart enough to avoid. I looked toward the street where officers reviewed footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera. And Claire, I added quietly, men who marry for money never expect the day to come when their wife finally fights back. She wiped her face with trembling fingers. What happens next? She whispered. I held her shoulders. Next, I said. Now that Jason has escalated, this is no longer a divorce case. What is it then? A survival case, I answered. And in survival cases, I glanced toward the flashing blue lights. The law becomes a weapon of protection, not paperwork. Claire inhaled shakily. And you'll help me win? I looked her in the eyes. I'm not helping you win, I said. I'm helping you take back everything he stole, including your life. Because Jason Weston didn't realize it yet, but his entire strategy, his entire plan, his entire illusion of control, it just collapsed in one night. And fate, the very thing he thought he could outsmart, was finally turning on him. Jason Weston vanished into the night like a man who had rehearsed disappearing long before the moment demanded it. Within an hour, every patrol car in the district knew his name. Within 2, officers were knocking on the door of his office, his gym, his favorite bar. By morning, detectives had questioned his coworkers, neighbors, and even the barista who made his morning coffee. And by noon, one thing was certain. Jason Weston had a plan for this moment. Men like him, men who treat marriage like a financial chessboard, don't panic. They anticipate. They prepare. They pre-count escape routes like people memorize emergency exits. And Jason had pre-planned his. But the very thing he believed would save him would become the thread that unraveled everything. That morning, Claire sat in my office, legs pulled close, hands wrapped tightly around a cup of tea she hadn't sipped. Her face still showed last night's terror, but now something else had settled beneath it. Resolve. I'm done being afraid of him, she whispered. Good, I said. Fear feeds control. And Jason can't control what he can't predict. She nodded, though her voice shook slightly. And what if he comes back? Then he won't get anywhere near you, I said firmly. You're protected now and after last night. The law is on your side, she exhaled shakily. I never imagined my marriage would end with police cars and a bathroom window. No one imagines that, I said, especially the ones who deserve better. She looked at me, eyes glistening. What happens next? Next, I said, opening my laptop. We look at the thing Jason values most. What's that? Money, I said simply, and the people who helped him get more of it. I pulled up the files Wexford had given me. He claimed he'd never known about Jason's deeper intentions. Maybe that was partially true, but he had still played a role I intended to dissect. I clicked open a folder labeled Weston's secondary accounts. Claire leaned forward. What are those hidden accounts? I said. Ones he never wanted you to know about. She swallowed. How many? I hesitated. 6. Claire covered her mouth. These accounts, I continued, contain transfers from the forged loan, from your joint savings, and even from what you believed were investment contributions. She shook her head slowly. 6 accounts, 6 lies, 6 places he stored the future he planned without me. Yes, I said, but one of them stands out. I clicked the last account. It had a different title, Asset Reallocation JW/SW. Claire frowned. SW, that's not me. My initials are CW. Yes, I said quietly. Which raises a question, who is SW? Her face paled. Ivy, is he seeing someone else? That's one possibility, I said, but look at the transfer pattern. I zoomed in. The transfers were larger, more consistent, more intentional, and the withdrawals smaller, regular, monthly. Like payments, Claire's voice trembled. What is he paying for? I clicked the memo line. A name appeared. Samuel Weston, Guardian Disbursement. Claire blinked in confusion. Jason doesn't have a brother named Samuel, she said. Not that I know of, he's an only child. Are you sure? I asked. Yes, his parents never mentioned another sibling, ever. Then, I said slowly, who is Samuel Weston and why is Jason transferring money to him? Silence settled between us like dust. Claire leaned back, stunned. This doesn't make sense. Jason never talked about family except his parents. Never. I opened another document Wexford hadn't shown me intentionally, a file buried deep in his archives. Custodial record, minor dependent, confidential guardian, Jason Weston dependent, Samuel Weston, age 11. Claire stared at it for a full 10 seconds before speaking. Jason is a guardian to a child? Yes, I said. It appears so. He never told me. Her voice cracked. He never mentioned a child, not once. There's more, I said, because hiding it would be cruel. I clicked the next page, Mother, Delilah Rowan status, deceased cause. Accident, unresolved, father, unknown guardian petition approved. J. Weston. Claire's hand tightened around the edge of my desk. Who is Delilah Rowan? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I pulled up a photograph from the guardian petition. A woman, late 20s, quiet eyes, a tired but soft smile, and a child beside her, brown-haired, shy, hand gripping her sleeve. Claire's breath hitched. I've never seen her before, she whispered. Never seen them, never heard their names. Ivy, why didn't he tell me? To protect the life he built outside your marriage, I said softly. Her jaw trembled. Are you telling me Jason had a secret family? Not exactly, I said, but he had a commitment. And a child he was financially responsible for, a child who looks nothing like him. And a woman, Delilah, who died in an accident. Claire shook her head, overwhelmed. But why hide it from me? Because, I said gently, if he told you the truth, you would have asked questions. And questions expose secrets. She exhaled shakily. So he stayed with me for money, he stole my signature, he planned a divorce based on profit, and all along he had a child he was supporting? Yes, I said. And he never told me because, I said, the moment you found out he had someone else he cared for financially, you would have questioned everything. Her eyes filled with tears, anger, and betrayal swirling beneath. Ivy, she whispered, does this mean he was cheating on me? No, I said, this isn't infidelity. I turned the screen toward her again. This is guilt. What? Delilah's accident, I said. It wasn't random. She died under unclear circumstances. And someone with legal power petitioned to give her son to Jason. Claire blinked rapidly. But why Jason? Why not a relative? I let the silence answer. She pieced it together slowly. Oh my God, she whispered. Ivy, was she someone from his past? Yes, I said. Delilah Rowan wasn't a stranger to Jason. I clicked the last page of the file. And there, beside the guardianship order, was a handwritten note from Delilah's therapist. Delilah believes Jason Weston saved her life once. She trusts him more than anyone else. Claire's lips parted in shock. Ivy, who was she to him? Someone he felt responsible for, I said. Someone whose death left him with guilt, and a child. And he hid all that from me so I wouldn't question the money or the insurance policies, I said. Or the forged loans or the transfers. She wiped her tears. I feel like I never knew who I was married to. You didn't, I said gently, but you're learning now. Claire nodded, trembling but stronger than when she arrived. So, Ivy, what does this mean legally? I leaned back in my chair. It means, I said, that Jason wasn't just stealing from you, he was supporting someone else with your money, a dependent, a child. A secret he never intended you to discover. Her voice was barely a whisper. And what does that tell us? That Jason Weston didn't manipulate you out of greed alone, I said softly. He manipulated you out of fear. Fear, she echoed. Yes, I said. Fear that losing you meant losing the stability he needed to care for a child who shouldn't have been his responsibility. She stared at me, stunned. So he stayed with me not because he loved me, but because he couldn't afford to lose me? Exactly, I said. And he planned to leave me when the child no longer depended on him, I finished. Claire covered her mouth. Oh my God, yes, I said gently. Jason had a timeline and you were the foundation of it. And now that I know the truth, she whispered, he tried to, yes, I said. He tried to accelerate the plan. Claire looked up at me with hollow eyes. What do we do now? I closed the laptop slowly. Now, I said, we stop him completely. Because the moment Jason learned you were no longer predictable, he became dangerous. And dangerous men always leave trails. Her breath shivered. So we follow the trail? No, I said, we pull it. She swallowed. And what happens when it unravels? A cold, steady certainty settled in my chest. When the truth unravels, Claire, Jason Weston won't just regret using you. I met her gaze. He'll regret underestimating the woman he thought he could break. Jason Weston didn't stay hidden for long. Men like him, men who believe they're smarter than the system, don't go underground. They don't crawl into shadows. They walk through them like a man convinced he still owns the room. And early the next morning, he proved it. Claire woke to the sound of knocking, not pounding, not frantic. A polite, steady knock, as if the person standing outside her temporary safe house was delivering a package, not ending a marriage. She froze, her body went stiff with instinctive fear, her hands trembled as she picked up the phone. Ivy, she whispered, someone's outside, I'm scared. Stay away from the door, I said. Look through the peephole if you can do it without being seen. A moment of silence. Then, Ivy, it's him. Jason, standing there, calm, neatly dressed, looking like a man returning home from a morning jog instead of a man who escaped police the night before. Ivy, what do I do? Claire whispered. Do not open the door, I said. Step away, I'm calling the police. Before she could respond, Jason spoke, not loudly, just clearly enough for her to hear through the wood. Claire. I know you're inside. She stepped back. Jason continued, his tone disturbingly steady. I just want to talk, you've misunderstood everything, let's be mature about this. Mature. A word manipulators use when they want silence, not answers. Ivy, Claire whispered, he sounds normal. He isn't, I said. Normal people don't run from police after breaking down a bathroom door. Jason knocked again, softer this time. Claire, he said, open the door, I'm not angry, I just want to explain. Explain? A man caught forging signatures, hiding accounts, taking out life insurance, and trying to initiate a late-night drive off a cliff. No. He wasn't here to explain, he was here to regain control, and he believed he still could. I pulled into the safe house driveway minutes later, police right behind me. By the time I reached the porch, Jason was still speaking through the door. Claire, please, I'm under a lot of stress, work has been insane, if you just let me talk. Step away from the door, Jason. An officer shouted. Jason turned slowly. No panic, no fear, just mild irritation as if the police were intruding on a private argument. Ivy, he said calmly, noticing me, good morning. I assume Claire called you? Of course she did, I said. She fears you, he smiled politely. That's unfortunate, I love my wife, I would never hurt her. The officer positioned himself between Jason and the door. Sir, you need to leave the premises or we'll take you in for questioning. Jason's smile didn't move, his voice remained perfectly controlled. I'm here peacefully and I'm not a danger to anyone. Claire whispered through the phone, Ivy, he's lying. He's lying so easily. I know, I whispered back. Jason continued, this is a misunderstanding. My wife has been under emotional strain, she's imagining threats that aren't there. I stepped forward. No, I said calmly. She's not imagining the forged loan or the insurance policy. Or the fact that you attempted to break into a locked bathroom while holding a weapon? Jason's eyes darkened, but only for a breath. Then, back to the soft smile. That's not what happened. A manipulator's favorite line, but before I could speak again, another officer approached us. Attorney Marlowe, he said quietly, you may want to hear this. I stepped aside with him. He held out a tablet. We pulled traffic camera footage near your client's home last night, he said. Jason ran, but not alone. Not alone, I whispered. No, there's someone else, someone who picked him up 3 blocks away. He pressed play. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Jason sprinted across a dark street and jumped into a waiting car, a silver sedan. Then the driver stepped out for a second, just long enough for a camera to catch his face. A boy, a child. But not a stranger, Samuel Weston. The 11-year-old Jason was secretly supporting. And there in the passenger seat, barely visible but definitely present, clothes, a blanket, hair, was another figure. A woman's silhouette. Claire's voice cracked through the phone. Ivy, who is that? Who's in the car with them? The officer spoke before I did. We're running facial enhancement, but based on height and frame, he hesitated. Could be the boy's mother. Claire went silent. But she's dead, Claire whispered. Delilah, she died years ago. My mind tightened around a new possibility. What if she didn't? I said. Claire gasped. What? What if Delilah didn't die? What if her death certificate was falsified? What if Jason hid her the same way he hid the child? What if the accident wasn't an accident, just a convenient story? The officer nodded slowly. It would explain why Jason fought for guardianship, he said. If the mother wasn't truly gone, custody would be complicated. Claire's breath was shallow. So he used me, she whispered. He used my money not just for the child, but to hide a woman he didn't want anyone to find. My voice lowered. Claire, Jason wasn't supporting a child out of guilt. She trembled. Then why? He was supporting them because they depend on him for survival. She covered her mouth. And that means, yes, I said. It means you were financing more than a marriage. You were financing Jason's hidden life. Claire closed her eyes, a tear rolling down. And all this time, I thought he stayed with me because he needed financial security. He stayed with you, I said, because without you, he couldn't afford the family he was hiding. That truth cut deeper than betrayal. It was exploitation wrapped in affection, calculated dependency disguised as love. And the real twist, Jason didn't just hide a child, he hid an entire second life, a woman everyone believed was dead. A boy he claimed was just a dependent, and a secret plan to leave Claire once the financial burden lifted. But now he wasn't planning to leave, he was planning his escape, and Claire wasn't part of it. Officers approached Jason again. Sir, you need to come with us. Jason raised his hands slightly, calm, practiced, rehearsed. I'm happy to answer questions, he said smoothly, as long as Claire is willing to talk with me afterward. We're a married couple, we should settle our private matters privately. No, I said sharply. Claire will not speak to you, not now, not ever, not without legal protection. Jason's eyes sharpened, finally losing the practiced softness. So that's how it is, he said. You've turned my wife against me? No, I said, you did that yourself. He stepped forward, but the officer blocked him. Jason inhaled slowly. You have no idea what you're interfering with, he said. None of this is what you think. Oh, I asked. Then tell me, why was a boy you kept secret picking you up at midnight, and who was the woman in the passenger seat? His face tightened. A crack, a tiny fracture in the facade. Be careful, Ivy Marlowe, he said quietly. You're stepping into something too big for you. Threatening a lawyer in front of police, I replied. Bold choice. He smiled faintly, not amused, but daring. Oh, Ivy, he said. This isn't a threat, it's a warning. The officer handcuffed him then. Jason didn't resist. He only looked at me and whispered one last thing, you're chasing the wrong ghost. Then he was taken away. But Claire, shaking, breathing unevenly, grabbed my arm. Ivy, what does he mean? I swallowed. Claire, I said quietly, I think the truth about Delilah and that child is far more complicated than we knew. And Jason? He's hiding something worse than money, I said. What is he hiding? I looked toward the patrol car as it pulled away. That secret, I whispered, is the reason he stayed married to you and the reason he tried to escape. Jason Weston wasn't afraid of the police. He wasn't afraid of losing his marriage, his assets, or even his image. Jason Weston was afraid of the truth. And when a man hides the truth long enough, the secret begins to rot from the inside out until its smell reaches every part of his life. That smell had reached Claire, and now it had reached me. The same morning Jason was taken into temporary custody, I received a call from Detective Hale, the lead on Claire's case. "Ivy," he said, "we pulled more footage from the area where Jason fled last night. Did you identify the woman in the passenger seat?" There was a pause, then, "We need you to come to the station. There's something you should see." The tone told me everything. This wasn't a routine update. This was a revelation. When I arrived, Claire was already there, sitting in a small interview room, arms wrapped around herself. The detective had insisted she come too. Her eyes were red, but not from crying, from exhaustion, from bracing herself for another truth she didn't ask for. "Ivy," she whispered as I entered, "I'm scared." "Whatever they found, it's bad, isn't it?" I sat beside her. "Yes," I said softly, "but whatever it is, we face it together." Detective Hale entered with a stack of files and a tablet under his arm. "You both need to see this," he said. He placed a photograph on the table. It was the enhanced frame from last night's footage. Jason, Samuel, and the woman. Claire stared at the screen. That's Delilah," she whispered. "The same woman from the guardianship file." "Yes," Hale said. "Except she isn't dead." Claire's lips parted. "But how? Her paperwork, her death certificate, everything said she died in an accident." Hale nodded slowly. "And that's what we were supposed to believe until now." He clicked the next photo. A hospital discharge record. Delilah Rowan discharged 7 months ago, condition stabilized, trauma recovery. Claire gasped. "Ivy, she didn't die." Jason lied. "No," I said softly. "He didn't just lie. He hit her." Hale pushed forward another file. Witness statement, social worker. Jason Weston frequently attended sessions. He referred to the woman as family. He insisted on confidentiality. Claire shook her head. I don't understand. Why would he hide her? Why pretend she was dead?" "Because," Hale said, "Delilah wasn't supposed to leave the facility. Someone checked her out early using forged documents." "Who?" she whispered. Hale slid another page across the table. A signature line, the name, Jason Weston. Claire covered her mouth with trembling hands. "He staged her death," she whispered. "He pretended she was gone so no one would ask questions. So no one would look for her?" Hale nodded. "We believe Jason moved Delilah and the child through temporary rentals over the years, always at night, always unregistered, always in cash. She's been hidden from every system." Claire looked sick. "Why?" she whispered. "What connection did he have to her? Why take responsibility for her and her son? Why live a double life?" Hale tapped the Guardian file. "Because Samuel isn't just some child." I felt the weight of the moment before he even said it. Detective Hale exhaled. "He's Jason's son." Claire froze, her whole body went still. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not possible." Delilah's records said the father was unknown. Unknown because she never disclosed it, Hale said. But DNA from a medical record shows a direct paternal match. My chest tightened. "Claire," I said gently, "Delilah wasn't a stranger from Jason's past." Hale finished the sentence. "She was someone he was involved with before he met you." Claire's breath shattered. "Oh my God," she whispered. "So all this time, all these years, he was hiding a child he had before me?" "Yes," I said softly. "And Delilah," she whispered. "Why pretend she was dead?" Hale leaned forward. "Because Delilah suffered severe trauma. She was unstable for years. She had a history of running away with the boy, and Jason feared she'd expose him. He used her condition to stage a false death and gain guardianship." "Why guardianship?" Claire asked, her voice thin. "Because," Hale said, "once he had guardianship, the state could no longer intervene. He controlled where she lived, how she survived, and who knew she existed." Claire wiped her tears. "So he didn't stay with me for money," she whispered bitterly. "He stayed with me because he needed my money to take care of them." "Yes," I said gently, "you were the financial engine behind his secret life." Her voice cracked. "He didn't love me, he loved what I provided." But Hale wasn't done. "There's another layer," he said. "We found records indicating Delilah recently tried to leave. She wanted to take Samuel and disappear." "Did Jason know?" Claire asked. Hale nodded. "Yes, they argued repeatedly. Neighbors at the last rental reported hearing shouting. One said the boy begged Delilah to stop making Dad angry." Claire's tears fell. So Jason was about to lose everything, she whispered. His son, Delilah, the life he hid, all of it. And losing you, I said, meant losing the money he needed to control them. Hale continued. We believe that's why he took out the life insurance policy in your name. Claire's eyes widened. But why? If he had Delilah and Samuel, why try to? Hale paused, then delivered the final blow. Because Jason was drowning financially, his hidden life drained him, the loans weren't enough, the forged accounts weren't enough, and Delilah's treatment costs were rising. Claire swallowed hard. He needed the payout, I said quietly. He needed the life insurance. Claire trembled. And who benefits from my death? Jason, Hale answered. Silence consumed the room, cold, heavy, undeniable. Claire whispered the truth aloud. He was planning to kill me. I reached for her hand. Yes, I said softly. His entire perfect system only worked as long as you stayed alive until the moment he decided it didn't. She sobbed into her hands. But why run now? She whispered. If he needed me, why run? Hale exhaled. Because Delilah is gone. What? Claire cried. Gone? Gone where? He clicked a photo of a woman's suitcase by a bus stop. Delilah fled the night Jason ran. The boy went with her. Jason chased them before police arrived. So he wasn't running from us, I whispered. No, Hale said. He was running after them. Claire looked up, her face streaked with tears. Why chase her? Why run after the woman he hid for years? I answered quietly. Because Delilah knew something Jason couldn't risk losing. Claire stared at me. What did she know? Another officer entered with a sheet of paper. A document found in Delilah's abandoned rental. The headline, Statement of Intent, Delilah Rowan versus Jason Weston petition to terminate guardianship and reveal financial abuse. Claire gasped. She was going to expose him. Yes, I said. Delilah gathered everything, the forged accounts, the loans, the transfers. She finally decided to break free. Hale added. We believe Jason realized Delilah was about to hand documents to the court. He panicked. His entire life was about to collapse. Claire whispered the truth. So he came for me first. I nodded. He tried to eliminate the financial liability he couldn't control. And now, she whispered. Now, Hale said, Delilah and Samuel are missing, and Jason is desperate. Claire trembled violently. Ivy, what does that mean? I took a slow breath. It means Jason Weston's motive wasn't money. Her eyes widened. It means he was hiding a secret that could destroy him legally. What secret? She whispered. I looked at her gently. The kind of secret a desperate man will kill to protect. Jason Weston wasn't afraid of the police. He wasn't afraid of losing his marriage, his assets, or even his reputation. Jason Weston was afraid of the truth. And when a man hides the truth long enough, the secret begins to rot quietly, slowly, until the smell of it reaches every corner of his life. It had reached Claire, it had reached Delilah, and now it had reached me. 2 days after Jason vanished from custody, the search expanded statewide. Patrols, bus stations, abandoned rentals, but he'd gone silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that comes from a man who has rehearsed disappearing long before anyone realized he needed to. Then a break came. Someone had spotted Delilah, alive, buying clothes for a child at a roadside store. She used cash. Her coat was too big, she wore sunglasses, and the boy with her looked scared. But she wasn't alone. A man watched her from across the store, pretending to browse. A man the witness later described as trying too hard to blend in. Jason Weston. By the time police arrived, all three were gone. The chase was no longer about forged loans or fraudulent insurance. It was about saving lives, Delilah's, Samuel's, and Claire's. The real breakthrough came from the person I least expected to ever see alone, Samuel. A social worker called me, her voice was trembling. Miss Marlowe, I think the boy is trying to find you. I drove straight to the facility. Samuel sat in a waiting room chair, thin, shaking, clutching a backpack as if it were armor. He looked up when I entered, not with fear, but with the exhaustion of a child who had been carrying adult secrets for too long. Samuel, I said softly, I'm here. He whispered, Mom said to find you. My breath caught. Where is she? I asked. He unzipped his backpack. Dozens of papers spilled out, medical records, receipts, letters, photos, financial logs. Everything Delilah had risked her life to collect. Mom said Jason wasn't going to let us go, Samuel whispered. She said she remembered. Remembered what? He swallowed. Who hurt her? A chill moved through me. Who, Samuel? He whispered. Jason. I breathed in slowly, steadying myself. Tell me, I said. When I was little, he said, we lived with a man. Mom said he loved her, then one night something happened. Mom fell down the stairs. Or, she said someone pushed her, she couldn't remember. Jason said someone broke in, he said he saved her, he said we needed him. My stomach turned. Samuel continued, voice trembling, but Mom remembers now. And she said the person who hurt her wasn't a stranger. I kneeled beside him. Samuel, where is your mother now? He hesitated. Then he whispered something I will never forget. She went back to him. What? Why? She said he gets dangerous when he's scared. She said I had to run. She said only you could help. He handed me a torn brochure with an address scribbled on it, a cabin, isolated, abandoned. Mom said that's where he hides when he gets scared. I called Detective Hale on the drive. SWAT surrounded the cabin that night, but when they entered, they didn't find a violent confrontation. They found Jason on his knees, hands over his head, shaking, not from fear of the law, from fear of the truth finally catching him. Delilah stood in the corner, bruised, exhausted, trembling, but alive. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. You found my son, she whispered. Yes, I said, because he believes in you. Jason stared at us, eyes hollow, voice low. You don't understand, I protected her, she needed me. They both needed me, I stared at him. No, you needed their silence. His lips parted in panic. I couldn't let her remember, he whispered. If she remembered, everything would fall apart. Claire entered behind me. She looked at Jason with a calm so powerful it nearly broke him. You didn't marry me for money, she said softly. You married me to finance your lie. Jason's face crumpled. I was trying to keep everything together, and you destroyed everyone in the process, I said. He looked up weakly. I didn't want the truth to come out. It always does, I answered. The trial lasted months, but the verdict was swift. Guilty on every charge: financial fraud, identity forgery, insurance fraud, assault, coercive control, custodial manipulation, attempted homicide, endangerment, and the long-hidden crime that started everything. The assault that caused Delilah's memory loss. When Delilah testified, the room fell silent. When Samuel bravely told the judge what he remembered, the jury cried. And when Claire took the stand, calm, strong, unbroken, Jason lowered his eyes and never lifted them again. Claire didn't return to their old house. She built a new life, bright, peaceful, safe. Delilah entered trauma recovery. Samuel stayed by her side. One afternoon, Delilah hugged me and whispered, "You saved us." I shook my head. No. You saved yourself the moment you remembered. Jason Weston believed he stayed married for financial security. He believed he controlled every outcome. He believed he owned the truth. But truth doesn't belong to men like him. Truth speaks for the wounded, the silenced, the forgotten. And in the end, truth destroyed him more completely than any courtroom ever could. Fate didn't just give him a reason to regret what he'd done. It reminded him that every secret he built his life on was always waiting to come undone.